The most grueling athletic event in the world. It's the Tour de France, the 71st running here in 1984. 23 days, 3,900 kilometers. That's over 2,400 miles of rugged cycling throughout the French countryside. The riders start near the Paris in northern France, circle the country, the entire country, in a counterclockwise direction, going through the Pyrenees, the southern French rolling hills, and here, as you see, on the 17th stage, after 1,500 miles, they attack the Alps.
This is the Tour de France. Is probably considered the most popular sporting event of the year. Cycling itself is the second most popular sport in Europe. But this, during the month of July, takes everybody's mind away from any other sport, and everything is concentrated on the Tour de France. Right now, with the Alpe d'Huez stage, this is the first major mountain stage of the Tour de France.
Hi, I'm Buddy Frank, and the voice you just heard is that of Greg LeMond, the 1983 World Professional Road Racing Champion and a pre-race favorite for his first attempt here at the Tour de France. What's the strategy as we enter these mountains, Greg?
Well, as I said before, I made a mistake that this is not the first major mountain stage. We've already gone one stage through the Pyrenees, but this is really the first major stage in the Alps. Right now, this is the base of the Alpe d'Huez stage. It's one of the most difficult climbs in a classic in the Tour de France. This climb has 21 switchbacks, and right now you're seeing the foot of the climb. Luis Herrera, who is right in front of the motorcycle going into the turn, has just dropped Bernard Hinault. These two have just made an attack on the valley floor 5 kilometers from the foot of this climb. And I think Hinault right now is really paying for his efforts. He was really an aggressive rider earlier on in this stage. And right now Herrera, who's considered probably the finest mountain climber in the world, has just attacked him.
Of course, this race today began at Grenoble, a famous ski town, and we're going to end at another famous ski resort, Alpe d'Huez. Fignon, who is considered to be a favorite here, was not leading going into this stage.
No, it was Vincent Barteau. He had held the yellow jersey for a week and a half prior to this stage. He had taken the yellow jersey earlier on in the northern part of France by a a three-man breakaway that finished 17 minutes up. And this gave him quite a good lead. I have to admit that he raced an incredible race to hold the jersey all the way until the first mountain stage in the Alps. We'd already done a mountain time trial, and we'd already done a mountain stage in the Pyrenees. And in between the Pyrenees and the Alps, we were racing through a section called the Midi-Pyrenees, which are short climbs but very difficult, 5 to 10 kilometers long. And I have to admit that he really raced a good race.
Was there any consideration towards, as far as team leadership goes, with giving Barteau the win? Could he have survived to win this race with an 18-minute lead?
No, because his type of riding, he's mainly a sprinter, a fast finisher for the one-day classics or semi-hilly races. And everybody knows, I think everybody knew in the Tour, that his lead would diminish after we hit several stages in the Alps. Actually, everybody expected him to lose the jersey the first stage of the Pyrenees, and he held it for another 3 or 4 days until we got to the Alps. Really, we were hoping that he'd hold on to it for a few more days and at least try to maintain a top 10 general classification. He fell back a little bit more after 2 or 3 stages in the Alps. I think he ended up finishing in the 20s and the 30s. I'm not sure exactly what his position is.
These climbs are what's known as premier category climbs. Let's put that in perspective. How do they relate to some of the events that Americans may have seen, such as the Coors Classic or Red Zinger in the Rockies?
Okay, I think there's like 4 different classifications of climbs. There's a 4th category, 3rd category, 2nd category, and 1st category. Actually, there's 5 categories. There's the Or category, which is the highest category possible. And I think L'Alpe d'Huez Mountain, the finish to L'Alpe d'Huez ski station, is an Or category, which is higher category than 1st category. 1st category, they have a rating where there's a certain percentage and a certain distance. And this certain climb, the average grade on this is about 10 to 12%, although in the switchbacks and in the turns, it can get up to 15, 16% grade.
Is it similar to the Rockies or more severe?
I'd say most of the climbs in Colorado would be about 3rd or 2nd category climbs, although the length could maybe, and the altitude could make them categorized like a 1st category in certain ones. There are really no grueling climbs like there are in Europe. I know that the Sierra Nevadas have a few climbs that would be first category climbs, but there are no races that go over them. In Colorado, I think they build most of the roads for snow, and the steepest grade you usually get is 6 or 7%, whereas in Europe, most of these roads are 10 to 15% grade.
Although he's not leading here, Fignon appears to be cycling quite effortlessly in these steep terrain.
Well, right now, during this period of the Tour de France, he had probably his best form he's had his whole life. And I think that's the key to racing well in a stage race, is arriving at your peak form at the right time. I think he's dominated the Tour de France because of his mental attitude also. He was so confident, and that kind of comes with being in good shape. If you're in top shape, you're confident. If you're confident, you can dominate the race. This is Laurent Fignon right now. He's just been dropped by Luis Herrera, but he's coming back up to Luis Herrera, and I think he almost caught him by the top. I don't think he was really worried about Luis Herrera, because at this time he was several minutes behind, 10 or 15 minutes behind Laurent Fignon on the general classification.
As we mentioned at the start, one of the favorites for this race was Greg LeMond. You're not among the leaders here. What happened during the early stages of the Tour de France for you?
Well, in Paris, at the start of the race, I felt great. I thought I could really, I felt as good a condition as I did last year for the World Championships. After 2 or 3 days in the first week of the Tour de France, I caught a bug. I had bronchitis and a sore throat, and it really affected me for the first week of the Tour. Then I was on for another week, until the day before this stage I was on antibiotics, and that tends to sap your strength. I really never felt that I had the punch that it was necessary to stay with the leaders, although in this stage was the first day I felt really good during the Tour de France, and I ended up catching Hinault at just with 1 kilometer to go. This point of the stage that you see right now this is Luis Herrera. This is about 2 kilometers to go to the finish. At this point, Hinault, when I was on this climb, he was about 200 or 300 yards in front of me.
The crowds here are incredible for such a narrow path up these steep mountains.
That's right. I think the mountain stages are the favorite for all the spectators in Europe. I think Europeans really can relate to the suffering that goes on in the climbs. A lot of Americans seem to turn out for criteriums because of the speeds and that, but Europeans like to see the suffering. And I think that's really, right now you can tell that, that it's so popular. Almost in all the mountain stages, especially if it's towards the finish, they average about 50 to 100,000 spectators on the mountain stage. And 2 days before this, we had a time trial that finished on a mountain, and they had an estimated crowd of 100 to 150,000 people.
You see the motorcycles clearing the way, but is there the chance that the spectators can actually interfere with the riders?
You have to be careful. It's a lot of times there's some fanatics that go crazy and jump out in front of you, but usually there's never really been any terrible cases of colliding with the spectator. This is Luis Herrera. He's winning the stage of Alpe d'Huez. This is the finish. It's not as steep as the rest of the climb, but it's still a good upgrade.
As we said, at this point in the race, we're over 17 stages. Stages are, you might consider, individual races within a race. We're 17 stages along, over 1,500 miles. Do you consider this 17 stage the turning point of the 1984 Tour de France?
Yes, I think that the Alps were the turning point are mainly the turning point for almost every Tour de France. This is Laurent Fignon. He went on to place second place, I think 30, 40 seconds behind Luis Herrera. The Alps are where the climbs are what really separate the well-conditioned and the guys that are in fair condition. I think this is where it's the race of truth. There's no drafting. It's just the strongest survive.
As Fignon crosses the finish line here, he gains the famous maillot jaune, or the yellow jersey of the Tour de France, something he was not to lose throughout this race. So for him, it was definitely a turning point.
Oh yeah, he I think felt that it was planned that way. He knew that he was going to take it that day, because I don't think he knew that Vincent Barteau couldn't hold on to the jersey until through the mountain stages. And he knew that after 1 or 2 stages in the Alps, he was going to take the yellow jersey. He wasn't. You couldn't beat him in this Tour de France.
Despite the difficulty on this stage, there were several more mountain stages to come, equally as tough.
Yes, the next day is Alpe d'Huez La Plagne, which is very difficult. This is myself finishing. I ended up finishing 6th place, passing Hinault just 1 kilometer to go to the finish. I think if I would have felt confident and I would have known that I was going to feel that good, that if I would have went with, the group had broken away on the climb prior to Alpe d'Huez. It was the Col de la Fray, and Hinault had made an attack and took 4 or 5 riders, Fignon, Herrera, Acevedo, Miller, and Hinault. They all went away on the climb before Alpe d'Huez. I was about 2 minutes behind, and by the time we reached the base of the Alpe d'Huez stage, I was about 4 minutes behind. On the climb, I made up a minute on most of the riders.
Well, at this point, as you know, took his bows there on the victory stand, he had about an 8-minute and 40-second lead. What was the team strategy now, since you are Fignon's teammate?
Well, we knew that Fignon had the victory for the Tour de France, barring, accidents or crashing. So the goal was for me to move up to second place, try to take second place away from Hinault. And on this stage, Alpe d'Huez, La Plagne, this is the next stage, the next day, we went over 3 very difficult climbs. The first climb, we went over the Col de Galibier, which was about a 40-kilometer climb, a 25-mile climb, and Pascal Simon set the pace from that climb and blew the field apart. I stayed with the front group. There was about 12 riders at the top of the climb. Right now, there's more than 12 riders, as you can see. Most of the people came back on the descent. And on the next climb was the Col de Madeleine, which is about a 12-mile climb of about a 13% grade. That also split the group up. But as I said, a lot of people who get dropped on the uphill, a lot of them really take risks and try to come back on the downhill.
In that last shot, we saw the yellow jersey. There it is again. And next to that, we see your own World Championship jersey. We also saw a polka dot jersey there. What is the significance of that jersey?
Well, the polka dot jersey is being worn by Robert Miller. He's the leading mountain climber, which means he wins the mountain prizes on each mountain pass. They'll have a banner just like the finish of a race, and you'll see that's really hotly contested. A lot of people, especially the climbers, really make an effort to take that jersey.
An interesting shot here as we see Hinault in the foreground, Fignon in the center of your shot with the yellow jersey, and Greg LeMond on the far side, and beyond you is
Wilches. He's a Colombian. He just turned professional with Splendor 2 weeks prior to the Tour de France. They came to the Dauphiné Libéré, the Colombians, and dominated the Dauphiné Libéré. I think it was mainly because they had really good training from the Tour of Colombia and altitude. You just saw there that was Cyril Guimard. He was coming up to explain to Fignon to make an attack. The plan was, in this stage, Fignon was to go away. I was to drop, attack Hinault, catch Fignon, and work together and hopefully pull out another minute or 2 on Hinault.
As far as your health goes, we'd also heard that you had a problem with tendonitis early in the race.
Yeah, what happened was I was having terrible pains on the bottom of my feet, and it was because of the heat. I have plastic sole shoes, and when it gets over like 90 degrees, your feet tend to swell, and the heat and swelling combined caused severe pain on the bottom of my feet. And what I was doing, I was putting my feet, placing my foot further into the toe clips than normal, and I stood up one time and pulled my the tendon just above my ankle. I had to treat it with ice and everything for a week, but it really didn't. After a couple of days, after I got a good warm-up, it really didn't bother me too much.
Now, at this point, do you consider yourself back to full strength?
No. The whole Tour de France, I've never felt I was really 100%, although I felt I was like at 90% fitness here. I never felt like I ever really recovered. When you're in an event like the Tour de France and you get sick the first week, it's almost impossible to ever come back to your normal self again. That's why I never felt like I had the jump or the snap to really try to break away and drop Hinault.
A lot of people say that regardless of what had happened, that 1984 was simply Fignon's year, that no one could have beaten him. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I mean, he was definitely the strongest rider at the Tour de France. I think, like I said before, he arrived in his perfect form before this race. He had Tour of Italy as preparation. He was confident, and he was unbeatable. He just couldn't be beat.
Spectacular scenery as you progress in the climb here.
Yeah, this is about halfway up this finish to La Plagne. Jimenez was leading myself. This is Jean-Marie Grisey. He broke away on the valley floor. He was alone by himself, and he got caught by Fignon with about 4 kilometers to go. I caught him with about 2 kilometers to go.
It seems that the strategy really does boil down to these sections here in the Alps.
Well, the mountains are where the race is won and lost. I think, you can make up 3 seconds lost in a prologue is nothing, but 3 minutes lost in a mountain stage, could be the difference between first or second or third and fourth. And that's what, it's just really, when you get to the Alps, it's just a matter of surviving.
Does that mean that the Tour is simply a climber's event?
No, it's just that when you get to this certain level of athletes, when everybody's so equal in ability, that's one thing I've always objected to in America, is that they always wanted to make the race where, that would give a sprinter the chance to win, like the Tours Classic, or, it'd make it an all-around race. The problem is when you get into this ability of athletes, you need the most selective course to select the best rider, the one that has the most talent. And you can tell that Fignon, definitely the stronger climber is going to win, but generally speaking, the one who always wins the Tour de France is a well-rounded rider who can time trial, race the flats, race the downhills, and climb.
Now we have about 5 straight days of climbing. Do you have to plan to leave something for the next day, or are you going all out each day?
Well, I think that was my advantage. I really didn't have the snap to make an attack, but I had the endurance in that. And I think some people would really go for it one day, and the next day just blow up. I noticed Luis Herrera, who'd won the Bourg-d'Oisans stage the day before. On this stage, he lost 30 minutes, just completely blew up. And that's the key, is try to be consistent and try to, maintain a good, steady effort. If you're trying to go from one stage in one day, and you give yourself 120%, and you don't leave anything for the next day, you can end up losing 1 hour or 30 minutes the following day.
Something a lot of people speculated about before the race, before you had your health problems, was what would happen if you and Fignon were both healthy at the end of this race. Would the French nationalism have dictated that you took a second place role?
I think that, on our team, Guimard, the coach himself, I don't think it really mattered who won, but I know that the French public, I'm sure, would rather see a Frenchman win. It's really rare to have 2 riders that would be on the same team equally as strong. In a Tour de France that lasts 3 weeks long, there's always going to be a certain day that one rider's going to make up time on another. So it really never, and especially since once I got sick, the problem never arrived. Right now, this is about halfway up the race. I had just attacked before this. I dropped Robert Miller, and I think this is Delgado from Spain. I just dropped him. I had taken about 35 seconds out of him, and I was on the way of catching Jean-Marie Grisey.
The goal here, of course, was to get ahead of Vinardino, who had about a minute and a half on you at this stage, right?
I think he had over 3 minutes at this point. I think I took about a minute and a half out of him on this stage. That was the goal, was to try to take as much time out as possible. I think I timed my attack a little bit late.
Laurent Fignon, dopo aver portato una serie di attacchi nella prima parte del Tour.
I was trying to, there's 5 kilometers to go. I attacked with 7 kilometers to go, which I should have went away immediately after Fignon. This is Laurent Fignon. He's in second position right now. Jean-Marie Grisey is leading the race. But you can't see him. He's just going up around the hairpin, just in front of Fignon. I think that really gives somebody, motivates somebody to go harder when you can see somebody just up the road. Notice the climbing techniques of the pros. They're very, very smooth. There's a little bob in that, but that's common when you're climbing because you're pulling on the handlebars. But generally speaking, their upper bodies are relaxed and very smooth, and that's really the key thing when you're climbing, is to relax your upper body. Otherwise, you can cramp your upper arms, because if you're too tense, your muscles tend to get a lot of lactic acid buildup.
When do you decide to get up out of the saddle, as Fignon is doing there?
The most efficient climbing position is sitting down, because you use less muscles. I think when you stand up, you use more muscle mass, and it's not as efficient. You're used to sitting down 90% of the time, but when you do stand up, it's usually because you've got to relax some of your muscles that are tight and tense, like I'm doing right now. And it's also because of, or right now I'm trying to make a slight attack on Grazé. Also, if the grade changes steepness, if it goes from, say, 10% grade to 12% grade for 200 yards, usually you'll stand up to get over that little hump. This is the Drapeau Rouge, which is the red flag. It signifies the last kilometer of the race.
Does a semi-sprint begin at this point?
Well, what happened here, I caught Jean-Marie Grazé with 2 kilometers to go, and that was at a flatter point of the climb. It flattened out to about a 6% grade, which means there was more drafting.
Non ha avuto difficoltà l'anno scorso a scegliere, dobbiamo dire che la Renault è forse la prima volta che un gruppo sportivo dà fiducia al direttore sportivo anziché al campione. La Renault posta di fronte all'out-out di Hinault o io o Cyril Guimard.
Grazé wasn't about to pull through because he knew I had to make up time. So he sat on my wheel for the last 2 kilometers. I wanted to sprint for second place, but the main thing was for me to keep the tempo up to gain as much time on Hinault. Fignon right here was going like a locomotive. It was really difficult to catch him.
And he does look strong.
Well, you notice his technique. It's just so smooth and so you can tell a guy's in form when he's dropping somebody, and it's just as smooth as can be. When there's not in form, and if they make an attack, they tend to be more erratic. They don't really they tend to be manhandling their bike, bobbing their upper body.
Each of these events in the mountains, we might mention, is over 185 kilometers, a demanding day. What do you do to recover at this at night? Any special preparations for the next day?
Go back and die on your bed is the only thing you can do. This is the sprint. What I was talking about before, Grazé easily beat me in the sprint, but mainly it was because I had set the pace for 2 kilometers before that. When you're sitting behind somebody, you can save up to, on a hill at 6% grade, you can save 10 to 15% energy compared to the rider leading. This is Laurent Fignon. You can see the yellow jersey, fairly confident when he talks. This is Delgado from Reynolds' team of Spain. Just finished, I think he finished 3rd or 4th. Bernard Hinault comes in. He finished, I'm not sure, I think he finished a minute and a half behind me.
So you did make up some gain on the man who was in second place.
Yeah, I made up some time. The plan was to make up as much time this day as possible, and the following day was also a very difficult stage. It was La Plagne Morzine, which had 5 very difficult climbs, and the final climb seems to be also another classic climb is Le Jour de Plagne, which is a 10-kilometer climb, but it's a 42-24 climb.
We see there that Hinault was in 18th this particular day, where you finished 3rd, and Fignon, your teammate, in 1st.
Yeah, I think I finished 2 minutes up on Hinault at that time. I was really hoping, this is the white jersey, this is the jersey to signify the leading neophyte, or the new pro.
You're the rookie here.
Rookie, yeah. The first time, they award it to the first-time Tour de France riders.
Somewhat prophetic, because I think these jersey positions were maintained from this point to the end of the race.
Yeah, our team really dominated. Our team, Renault won 10 stages. Vincent Barteau wore the yellow jersey for a week and a half, or actually almost 2 weeks. And Fignon won the Tour de and I gained the white jersey and held it to the finish of the race.
Let's talk about team strategy now. We know that you have changed teams now. You've left Renault. Did that have anything to do with the placing and the tactics that went on this year's Tour?
A little, because I knew that Fignon, he's won the Tour de France twice now, and I know that he's going to go back the next year looking to win it the third time.
As we see now at stage 19, another mountain stage, there is Hinault on the right.
Yeah, this is Phil Anderson on the left, Bernard Hinault on the right. We've got a Colombian right behind Hinault. This is the Joux climb that I was talking about before. This is a 10-kilometer climb of 42:24. When I'm talking 42:24, this is at race pace, 100% effort, 90% effort. It's not easy. At the bottom of this climb, Fignon and I set the pace. We had broken away. We had a minute-and-a-half lead halfway up the climb on Hinault. And I thought for sure that this was going to be the stage. I was going to take second place, move up to second place.
Unlike the climbs we saw the day before, almost everyone seemed to be out of the saddle during some of these steeper portions.
Right, because this grade is very steep.
On this 19th stage, there are actually 5 hills or mountaintops you have to go over. Did you work hard on all of them?
Well, actually, the final climb that you're seeing right now was the race where most of the race really took place. Because the 4 climbs prior to that, everybody was just shattered from the 2 races before this, Alpe d'Huez stage and La Plagne stage. I think that everybody tends to, after 3 or 4 very hard stages, tends to take it easy earlier on the race and kind of gradually build up towards the end. I think if everybody attacked the first 4 mountain stages like we did the day before, there would have been, I don't think anybody could have done it, mentally or physically.
Also knowing that stage 20 and 21 were also difficult.
Oh, yes, right, because after this stage we have also a Crans-Montana stage. What you just saw there was the red banner was the Grand Prix mountain classification. That's where they put the banner up at the top of the climb, and that's where everybody's racing for the red and white jersey. Robert Miller right now is with us. This is the group, my group, that is about a minute and a half up on Bernard Hinault. The tacking that went on in this race, on this final climb, was incredible. Everybody was trying to make up a little bit of time on that guy that was just behind him. I tried it on Hinault. The guys in 5th and 6th place were trying to do it to move up on 4th place. It was an incredible day.
We've talked about the climbs, but each climb has a descent behind it. What are the risks, what are the considerations involved in these descents?
This particular climb had a severe descent. At the top of this climb, I knew that Hinault was coming up fast behind me, and I knew that if I was going to maintain a minute lead, try to move up on Hinault, I was going to have to take some chances on the downhill. And at the very top, I made a move and an attack just to move up ahead and take a lead and go down the downhill by myself, because I usually can descend a lot faster if I descend by myself. We got 4 kilometers to go. This is the bottom of the descent. On this climb, this downhill descent, I had taken a turn a little bit too fast and went off the road. I crashed and lost all my momentum and the time that I hoped to gain on Hinault.
Were you injured in the crash?
No, I accidentally hit my back brake a little bit too hard when the road wasn't in perfect condition, and it kind of went out of control. And I just, instead of taking the corner with my brakes on and sliding out and crashing, I just went straight and fell into the grass. No injuries at all.
So you were able to continue, but you'd lost your time advantage.
Yeah, because I lost about 40 seconds, and Hinault had really worked hard on the last 4 or 5 kilometers on the flat section to come back. And also, he took a lot of chances. I think he was descending a lot faster than I was, too, taking a lot more risk than I was. And with about 2 or 3 kilometers to go, Hinault's group caught back up to us, and that's our group just in front. And this is Hinault leading the group behind him.
Was there still the hope that you could get away in future stages?
There was one more mountain stage, Morzine Crans-Montana, which was a difficult mountain stage. I planned on attacking, but I knew that it was almost over because I just didn't feel good enough to make the difference.
At this point, had the other riders now conceded the overall victory to Fignon?
Oh, yeah. He had about a 10-minute lead after the Morzine stage, and it was really no contest. Hinault wasn't in good enough condition to take the lead away. I wasn't in good enough condition to do it. And the next person after me was 13, 14, 15 minutes behind Fignon, which would have been almost impossible. Unless Fignon had a severe crash, it would have been impossible for somebody to take the lead away from Fignon.
But the race for second and third was still quite alive.
Yeah, it was actually really hotly contested until the final stage. Then we agreed that we would not go for the time bonuses. During the race, we had sprints or hotspot sprints that gave away 10 or 15 seconds. And in the middle of the stage, they had a really a top sprint which gave away a 30-second time bonus, which means if I would have won every stage sprint, bonus sprint, I could have made up a minute and a half just by winning the sprints. But it would have meant a lot of aggressive riding, a lot of teamwork riding. My teammates would have had to lead me out for the sprints, and I just didn't think it was fair after the whole end of the Tour de France to have them work that hard just to move up to second place.
Let's talk about the technique of descents. What should a cyclist remember in descending steep, windy roads like this?
Well, the main thing about descending is to have control of it. Don't get into excess speeds. If you get into excess speeds, you really can't control your braking power into a corner. The main thing is always brake before the corner. If you're braking into the corner and through the corner, if you hit a patch of sand, you hit anything that's slippery, you can risk going down so easily. The main thing is to brake before you get in, and as you're riding in a straight line, brake before going into the corner and let off the brakes and accelerate out of the turn.
How about body position? Obviously you have one pedal up and down, but how about, do you shift the weight back, forward, what?
Yeah, you would do it just like you race in a criterium, how you take a corner in a flat criterium. You make sure that if you're taking a right-hand corner, your left pedal is straight down, and your right foot is up, so it distributes the weight evenly. This point of the race, you're seeing, this is the final kilometer of the race. You're going to see a fairly good sprint. I made a big mistake in this finish line because there were two banners, finishing banners, and I had thought the first banner was the finish line. I didn't really look at on the long side, if you can see the Merlin plage signs, those signify 25 meters, 250 meters to go. And I didn't see those. All I saw was the finishing banner, and you'll see me start my sprint on the right. Just give it a few seconds now. Everybody's setting up for the sprint. The main people to look for right now is the guy in the green hat, right, the third one up right now is Phil Anderson. The guy's an incredible sprinter.
You get points for these placings, so the sprint is important.
Oh, definitely. Because I think mainly to win a stage in the Tour de France or place in the top 5, there's prizes, there's prestige and everything. It seems that everybody wants to place well in stages. Right now, Robert Miller started leading up the sprint. This is where I got the idea. You can see there's the finishing banner in the background. I started leading up the sprint thinking that it was, this is me leading up the sprint thinking that we had only 200 yards to go. Actually, we had about 500 meters to go. You can see right now there's two banners, and I sprinted for the first one.
How badly did that cost you?
Well, it didn't. It just cost me a placing. Sean Kelly won the sprint. Phil Anderson was second in the sprint. Then Hinel Fignon and myself, I was last. When you end up leading out the sprint a little bit too early, you risk blowing up, losing time.
So again, no gain here at all on Hinel.
No, just a group sprint, group finish. I knew at this point that it was really over to really try to make up a lot of time on Hinel. The only thing that I thought is I still had the next mountain stage, Morzine, Crans-Montana, and we still had an individual time trial. After the finish that you saw Hinel getting interviewed by the press, most of the journalists are right there immediately after the finish, and that's one thing that's very difficult in pro racing, is when you're exhausted and you get done with the 200-mile race, is to deal with the press. They're always shoving mics in front of you, taking photos, asking you questions. Half the time you just feel like going back to your room and lying down on your bed and dying.
Well, we're back to the climbing again. Now we're at stage 20.
This is Morzine, Crans-Montana. This really featured basically flat stage prior to this climb. That's why before this, you saw two riders that were in the breakaway. It was Pascal Jules and Hank Luberding. These two riders are very good riders, but they're not really climbers. What they had done, they had broken away on the flatter section, taken about a 2 or 3 minute lead, and they almost held it to the finish, but Fignon had attacked during the climb to chase back Arroyo, who had attacked at the base of the climb, and he reeled the whole group in and ended up sprinting away at the finish.
This is also a shorter race at 104 kilometers. Is that a benefit, or does it just make the people go harder for the shorter distance?
Well, that's what I think my fault this climb. I really wanted to make up time on Hinault, but because it was such a short event, I didn't have the snap or the juice to really, make the difference. And I tended to make up most of my time after 3 or 4 climbs. When everybody else was dying, I kept improving. And on a climb like this, the explosiveness and the speed that you climb was just a little bit too fast for me.
Again, these are difficult premier category climbs here?
This is a first category climb, yes. This climbs, I think, about 15 kilometers, which is about 10 miles. It's a 10-mile climb, and the grade isn't so steep on this as the others. It's about 7%, but the pace that they race at on this climb is really what makes the race.
What happens at burnout? We know by this stage in the race, many of the riders have actually dropped out of this event. How big is the bulk of riders still in contention here?
I think there's I'd say 1/4 of the riders have probably stopped. Those are the riders who really have no chance of finishing high overall. A lot of teams, the general classification is really set. There's not much teamwork for the other team riders to do, and a lot of them get depressed and just say they can't, suffer through this. Although the Tour de France is an exceptional race, because I think most of the people do want to finish because of the prestige of finishing the Tour. That's why you'll find that in the Tour de France there are a lot less people who drop out than, say, a normal race of this severity.
How do you decide whether you want to go for an individual stage win, which certainly wins a lot of recognition, versus your placing in the overall Tour?
Well, different riders, that's one thing that's deceiving about the Tour de France. Although Fignon won quite a few stages, I never won a stage, Hinault never won a stage. The main thing is to be consistent. The most important thing of the Tour de France is to place in the top 5. To win a stage is the next most important thing. Although to win a stage, I'd say about 75% of the victories that people win stages by are people who are really not in contention for the general classification. Meaning that if you're 30 minutes behind, a lot of times we'll let that rider who's 30 minutes behind get a 5-minute lead, knowing that he's no real danger to us. And half the time, those people end up staying away to the finish.
So perhaps the key is to simply have good, consistent top 10 finishes.
Oh, that's the way I did it. I just tried to be as consistent as possible.
Fignon looks extremely strong here.
Yeah, right now this is where you can see attacks. This is typical racing on a climb, especially if the finish is about 4 or 5 kilometers away. This guy, I think it's Delgado, or Grosby, just got dropped. This is Pascal Jules. He was the one that was in the breakaway that had 2 or 3 minutes before the bottom of the climb. He ended up placing quite well for his type of riding.
And we have 2 teammates there in Fignon and Jules.
Right, but on a mountain, it doesn't really play an important role because of unless the teammate is strong enough to start leading the pace. Right now you can see that's Arroyo leading the group, Fignon behind him, and Kilian just on Arroyo's wheel. Fignon just made an attack. I think he tried getting away several times from Arroyo, although it wasn't as severe grade as he had hoped, and I think that Arroyo kept coming back.
The racing is certainly close here. We saw some of the spectators pouring water on the riders. Does that help a rider up a climb like this?
Well, one thing a general rule is if it's a mountain finish, I'll try to put water on my neck or my head. It's really important not to pour too much on you, especially if you soak your jersey, because you're adding another pound or 2 to your weight, which can be vital. I mean, a pound or 2 on a 15-kilometer climb is a lot of energy to push that weight up. Also, if it's a climb with a very long descent, if you've got a jersey that's soaked, you risk catching a cold on the downhill descent.
Con vedete Greg LeMond, con Millar, con Sean Kelly, il ritardo di questo gruppetto 45 secondi. Cerca di fare l'elastico, cioè cerca di perdere un po' di terreno per poter scattare, ed ecco che scatta.
And once again, Fignon is out.
This is another attack. We're about a kilometer and a half from the finish. You can tell the power of Fignon. I think Fignon stays away like this to the finish. Condition, you've got the yellow jersey, you've just got as much confidence as it takes, and that's what really, you know, made him win this stage, I think.
Well, there certainly appears to be no doubt about his abilities here, and this eventually becomes his fourth stage victory.
Yeah, this is Crans-Montana. The very final 400 meters was a very steep part, and he continued to take time out of Arroyo, who was behind him. I think he finished about 15 seconds behind. As you saw before, he was only about 5 seconds behind, but the superiority of Fignon's form lets him dictate the race he wants to race.
Now, finishing this relatively short stage of 104 kilometers, you have to be thinking about what's coming up the following day at 320 kilometers, over 185 miles.
That was the longest stage of the Tour de France. It's following this race. It actually worked out to be about 340 kilometers because we had 20 kilometers neutralized, period. But mainly those flatter stages are usually, we weren't really worried too much about the severity of tomorrow. It was just everybody was kind of upset of the hours it took. That's what's most difficult about the Tour de France. A lot of other endurance sporting events, they have extreme distances, but you don't have the competitiveness as this. And it's very difficult for every day to race an individual race and race it like it was a one-day World Championships. This is my group that I was with Hinault. We were about a minute behind Fignon. Right now I'm on Hinault's wheel. I knew that it was lost at that point to really move up to second place. Everybody was attacking our group at the last 200 or 300 meters. Hinault did most of the work up this climb, most of the pace setting.
So there was no gain for you at all here in your quest for second place?
No, it was too short of a stage for me. I needed a race that had 3 or 4 climbs. I was not really in top condition to race a race of that severity and that pace at a one-time effort.
Ecco Hinault con Gréset, con Le Monde. Il ritardo è di oltre 1 minuto. Allora, Fignon.
This is the next stage, Crans-Montana, Villefranche-sur-Saône. This finishes in the Beaujolais wine region. This is Marc Madio and Alain Bondu. They're in a breakaway. This is about 30-40 kilometers to go to the finish. They had broken away and stayed away for about 5 or 10 kilometers. Immediately following their breakaway, I made an attempt to get away and win a time bonus sprint, which would have brought me up another 15-20 seconds up on Hinault. And I was hoping that maybe if I had great form the following day, which is a 50-kilometer time trial, I could have maybe brought back some more time on Hinault.
How's your body feeling now? Obviously, this is an extremely long stage, but it is flat. Are different muscles being utilized, and are you still feeling the mountains here on these flats?
You can tell they're aerodynamic positions. You're not in the same climbing position as the mountains have been. But the thing that makes the Tour de France so difficult is that each day there's somebody going well. In the mountains, it's the climbers. During the mountain period, so you've got the sprinters and the people who are getting dropped. They usually ride the mountains relatively slow and easy, and they let their body recuperate. And the following day, when we want to rest, the people who race the race in the race, you've got guys who've been resting during the mountain stages trying to make attacks on the flatter stages, as you can see right now.
Yeah, even in this long race, we have about 5 little climbs, but they're what's called 3rd and 4th category climbs. How can you put those in perspective?
Those are 2-3 kilometer climbs, 1 or 2 mile climbs that are fairly steep, but it's just to keep the race going, the race pace going. Mainly, at the beginning of the Tour de France, those third and fourth category climbs were hotly contested. People were sprinting for them all the time because it was a chance to get points that were not that difficult to gain. Usually those people who were going for those small sprints on the climbs were dropped the first major mountain climb.
When we talk about climbs here, they're not as steep either, are they?
No, they're 4 or 5% grade. You don't have this length and the grade. Most of the major climbs in the Alps and the Pyrenees are 15% grade, 10 to 15% grade. This is Eric van der Aert, Belgian national champion. The jersey that he's wearing is the jersey that signifies the Belgian champion. It's the same colors as the Belgian flag. Notice his good position, really aerodynamic. I think when you watch the pros, the biggest difference between professionals and I'd say a lot, especially American amateurs, the positions are so much more aerodynamic, more relaxed. They're further back on their seat. Their saddles are a little higher. Americans tend to ride with their saddles really far forward, fairly low, and they're not in such good aerodynamic position. At this point, this is about 2 kilometers to go to the finish of the 200-mile stage, Villefranche-sur-Saône. This is a good example of a major field sprint. Notice the winding and the placing of the sprint, the placing of the riders for the sprint. Some of these field sprints like this, especially a flat stage, can be extremely difficult and dangerous. Phil Anderson's in second position right now, with Jacques Congraf on his right. He's in the red. Jacques Congraf is in the red jersey. Sean Kelly and Frank Host are in the front of the group also. I think Frank Host goes on to win the sprint. He's in the green jersey. The red jersey is Jacques Congraf. I think Jacques Congraf second, Sean Kelly third, and Phil Anderson fourth.
What is the strategy? What do you do when you're in a similar situation? Where do you try to be? Do you try to be second, third, fourth, where as they approach the finish line?
Well, I'm not a field sprinter, and I tend to not want to take as many risks as, say, a field sprinter does. You got to take a lot of risks. You got to be willing to battle with the people for position, and a lot of times you could end up crashing, as Eric van der Aert did just a little bit before. I just really don't want to take the risk that a field sprinter does, so I really just try to stay to the front and avoid any tangles with another rider. I usually try just finishing in the group, unless I feel really good. Now, this is Villefranche-sur-Saône. This is the individual time trial, the final time trial before the finish. This is Sean Kelly. He went on to tie with Fignon in this stage. Fignon actually won the stage by 1/100th of a second. And Sean Kelly had not won a stage during this Tour de France and was really upset because of the fact that he tied his only chance of winning the stage.
We've already mentioned how climbers do extremely well in the Tour de France, but good time trialists also usually prevail as well.
Yeah. I think everybody has, if you want to do well in the Tour de France, you've got to be able to time trial and climb. The main thing is if you're time trial specialists, they really aren't as strong in the mountains. And that's why it's difficult for them to win overall. I think this is myself time trialing. I think the main thing is you've got to be able to be an all-round rider, good in time trials, good in climbing. You don't have to be super in either one.
Is this truly a mental event, or is it physically demanding?
It's probably the most physically demanding events in cycling and the most mental demanding. I think concentration and concentrating on breathing and being relaxed when he's time trialing. He's probably the specialist of time trials, the strongest one of all. Although Fignon right now is slowly gaining strength in time trials and is now becoming to be one of the best time trials in the world, I still think Hinault is in capabilities and ability is the strongest rider. This is Claude Quillian. He went on to win the World Championships in Spain. He's a good rider, but not a star, not a super strong rider.
What's important in time trialing? You see some of the riders appearing to it.
You just want to find the fine limit of that. And you always, in reality, they always used to say you shouldn't be able to finish the time trial with, you shouldn't be able to sprint at the finish. That's not true because everybody usually has a little bit anaerobic capacity at the end of a time trial. Usually what you're seeing is people sprinting for the last 200-300 meters. That was Laurent Fignon. You notice the aerodynamic helmet. Right now, the importance in time trials is aerodynamic. Positions are probably the most important. Notice he knows position. It's very aerodynamic. He is one that's really streamlined, and that can make a lot of time up. This is my self-finishing. I'm sprinting all out. Although this race was very hilly, that's why you don't see all the disc wheels, the very aerodynamic bikes. Although you did see Fignon's aerodynamic helmet. Those, they say after a 40-50 kilometer time trial can save up to 20 to 30 seconds.
So in that time comparison that you had gained on Sean Kelly, for example?
I had lost on Sean Kelly, 40 seconds. This is Laurent Fignon. He's very smooth rider.
How about the choice? He has the aerodynamic helmet, you do not, does not. How do you base your decision on that?
I did it because it was hot that day. Fignon, it doesn't bother him. For me, wearing a big helmet like that, I would have had more problems with the heat than I would have gaining time. I might have exploded, got heat exhaustion by wearing the helmet. Fignon actually won the stage by time, but he also...
known as the Champs-Élysées. Are your thoughts turning to that at this point?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to just finish the tour. That's the main thing. And the tour, Champs-Élysées is just the romantic finish. Everybody kind of in America would probably think it's glamorous and all that, but most people really aren't thinking about that when they're racing. All they want to do is get done with the race and take a vacation.
Is there still motivation? Some years it's come down to that final sprint, but this year it's quite obvious that Fignon has this race well under control.
I think it's probably one of the most prestigious flatter races to win is the final stage, so it's very hotly contested. I think everybody would like to win the final stage at the Tour de France. It's mainly a race for sprinters, as you'll see. I think you have to be a specialist in sprinting to really try to succeed. This is Alain Bondu. You saw him just before breaking away with Marc Madio from my team. He made a great attempt to stay away to the finish. He was away for about 20 or 30 kilometers. Before we arrive on the Champs-Élysées, we've already done about 120 kilometers from a town just outside of Paris. We'll arrive, we'll come in and do 6 circuits about, I think, about 6 kilometers each lap. It's a pretty difficult race because you're racing on small cobblestones. And there's a slight uphill, you make a turn, you go back down past the finish. And if you're getting dropped or if you're in the lead, the most deceiving part is you can see the crowd. You can see the peloton that's just right alongside you.
A huge crowd here, almost comparable to what we might see in a football stadium. Does that affect your riding at all, this numbers of people?
Well, I think that's what motivates all the riders. I think everybody right now is they want to finish the tour, but they also want to win in front of this crowd. This is the capital of France. The president of France is watching this race right now. I think everybody wants to do as well as they can. I think that's what motivates everybody.
Certainly a happy day for them as one of their own wins this race.
Right now you can see the whole Panasonic team leading up. They're trying to bring back the breakaways. And you'll see Eric van der Aard, he's the team leader for the sprints right now. He is on the final back position. They'll have 8 or 9 Panasonic riders at the front, setting the pace, dictating the pace. He'll be in the last position. And that gives him the most control to set up for the sprint. This is Marc Madio. He's another teammate of mine. He made another attack. He stayed away for, I'd say, a half a lap.
They're on their last lap here, it appears, with 6 kilometers or more to go.
Yeah, that's 6 kilometers to go, should be 1 lap to go. Marc Madio, the thing about this type of flat race, make an attempt like Marc Madio did, it's really difficult to stay away because of the speed that the peloton can move at. The acceleration that a group can, such as this, can increase from 25 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour in a matter of seconds.
Indeed, he took a gamble and he ended up being out of the points.
Right. I think he got swallowed up by the field and ended up just finishing in the back of the group.
Any thoughts here at all that you can make up any time on, or have you conceded the second place at this point?
Well, right now you can see, van der Aard in top position. I tried staying to the front,
Ed ecco
but I really
Fignon
had no hopes
nelle prime
of
posizioni.
moving ahead of, it would have been just impossible. The group is just too motivated and the speeds are too great to make a solo breakaway.
How about the reflections on the fact that you've arrived at this final day? I know for years in your early career you'd said that the Tour de France was your ultimate goal in cycling. Any of those thoughts come to you as you were here in Paris, the traditional finish line of this famous race?
Well, the screen, you can see him just how explosive and how fast he is in the sprint. There's no way anybody can touch him.
2,400.
I think everybody, it's a matter of luck.
So a new team and a new challenge for Greg LeMond.
Right. I hope it'll be a little bit better next year. A little bit.
So the 1984 edition of Tour de France comes to a close. Laurent Fignon wins his second straight race in impressive form, finishing 10 minutes 32 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, taking 4 individual stage wins after 23 days of racing. Bernard Hinault proves that he's recovered from knee surgery and is still a threat to someday win his record-tying 5th Tour victory. And for American Greg LeMond, it's 3rd place this year, a minute 14 behind his newest teammate Hinault. But while some were predicting a win for the rookie, the placing was still impressive considering early illness and a strong comeback performance in the Alps. So long with Greg LeMond, I'm Buddy Frank reporting from Paris and looking forward to the 1985 Tour de France.
Qui è difficile che gruppi sportivi che hanno interessi pubblicitari e reclamistici nell'ambito italiano che possono cercare qui quel riverbero, quel rilancio del quale forse possono anche fare a meno. Intanto ci fanno segno che il tempo a nostra disposizione sta per concludersi, ancora 4 minuti. Belleri, è preferibile. Concludiamo con l'inno della Marsigliese, con l'inno nazionale francese. Ecco Chirac con Miller sulla sinistra, vincitore del Gran Premio della Montagna, Hinault secondo in classifica, Greg LeMond, il campione del mondo, poi la maglia rossa di Hanegraaff che lo vedete sorridente, dall'altra parte Fignon e poi l'americana Morzine che ha vinto il Giro di Francia, il primo Giro di Francia nella storia riservato alle donne. Laurent Fignon e accanto a lui l'americana Morzine. Allora, classifica generale, primo Laurent Fignon, secondo Hinault a 10 primi e 32 secondi, ecco l'americana Morzine, vincitrice del Tour de France femminile. Primo Fignon, secondo Hinault a 10 primi e 32 secondi, terzo l'americano Greg LeMond a 11 e 46, quarto lo scozzese Miller a 14 e 42, quinto Kelly a 15 e 45, Kelly che ha conservato la maglia verde di leader della classifica a punti, maglia bianca Pua Rossi per Miller, Gran Premio della Montagna, maglia bianca dei neofiti per Greg.